This is the Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. Actionable advice from real life superheroes who, just like you, are in relentless pursuit of the best version of themselves. Whether you're just getting started or have been at it for years, my hope is that this podcast injects you with some positive energy to continue doing what brings you joy. Join me as I interview the best of the best in business, sports, and life. Let's grow together. All right, Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. I'm here with my buddy, Phil Shoemaker. How's it going, brother?
Good, man.
Yeah,
Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining me, man.
Pleasure.
On the podcast, I want to talk about getting better every day. It might be some business stuff, might be some life stuff, but let's, jump in. Maybe for those who don't know you, those who aren't in the mortgage space, who is Phil Shoemaker?
Who is Phil Shoemaker? Okay, well, yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer turned mortgage banker. So I got into the business, going on, I guess 26, 27 years ago. So just like most people that get into mortgage, it was kind of by accident. So I knew someone. I was dating a girl whose mom was the top LO in Tucson. So she introduced me to a group of people that were starting a new mortgage bank called First Magnus. And so I was actually on the ground floor. I think this was before your time. Do you remember First Magnus at all?
No.
Yeah, which makes me feel like super old now. I'm the old guy in mortgage. I didn't used to be the old guy, so like times are changing.
Probably younger than the average age in mortgage.
Yeah,
but
I'm still. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. So I was there I actually started because I was an electrical engineer. I started on the tech side, and so I started building software, and then over the years, I ended up doing a lot of the strategic initiatives for the CEO, which got me more into the business. That folded in 2007, which a lot of companies did, unfortunately. And so after that, led the startup of a company that became Caliber Home Loans. So I was at Caliber from literally day one for about 11 years.
Wow.
And did a whole bunch of different things there. I was on the tech side. I was in kind of the back office function as a CEO for years. And then I got into managing the business directly, running ops, and then eventually the production units at the end. And so I'm really lucky because, I've had the experience of running multiple different areas, like, kind of right place, right time. I don't think I'm really all that bright. I just people like me for some reason, I just kind of was in the right spot. And, for whatever reason, certain key people in my life took an interest and invested in me. And so here I am, 26 years later, loving what I do. Absolutely love this business. I will say to the point of the show, probably one of the biggest things I've learned in my career is it really is more of a mental game than people realize. Like your success in life has a lot to do with your attitude and just how you show up every day. And in many cases, I think, using myself as an example, people are usually their worst enemy. Like you kind of hold yourself back. You limit yourself because you're so critical of everything you do. And so the one advice I would give on that is high performers, they're really good at operating in scenarios where there's a lot of uncertainty. Get used to change and know that you're gonna make mistakes, man. And when you make mistakes, that's okay because that's how you learn.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. And to your point about change and operating in change and being able to do that, in the mortgage industry specifically.
Constant change.
We're coming off back-to-back championships where a lot of companies did great. Home Point, you're able to lead them, $96 billion in production last year, I think. Yeah. Obviously there was change in that ramp up.
Yeah.
Now there's change. One specific thing that I wanted to ask you about, I remember taking notes. It was a few weeks ago out in California.
Okay.
You were on a panel and you were talking about the growth.
Yes.
The growth of Home Point Financial going from something like $250 million a month to $10 billion a month.
Yes.
And I can relate to that, as a mortgage broker who runs a team, that's hard.
Yeah.
Right. And
you don't sleep a lot.
I don't think many people really understood that. But as a math guy, I thought to myself, that's 40x. Like imagine a loan officer going from 2 deals a month to 80.
Yes.
They wouldn't even be able to fathom how you put structure around that. And it's probably a testament to your mechanical engineer brain, right? Is you're able to, create structure and systems and things like that around it. But maybe speak a little bit to through what were great times, but probably turbulent, right?
Yes.
Because massive growth is uncomfortable change. So
you don't sleep a lot,
right? And how do you continue to get better every day through, massive change like that?
Yeah. So that's a great question. One, I will tell you that is the fastest ramp I've ever been a part of. And
you ever hope to be a part of, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I will say that's something I don't think I could do again, to be honest with you, in all seriousness. And especially when you layer on like what was going on with, with COVID and all the fun stuff of the pandemic, it was interesting. But yeah, if I kind of go back, like so I think one of the reasons why I joined Home Point is that the leadership team, Willie Newman, our CEO, very, very much understands the importance of culture and people. And so while, so the engineer side of me serves me well, because I do think in systems and structure and how to because if you actually look at mortgage, it really is, there's a heavy relationship component to mortgage, it's also very much a numbers game. Right. And understanding how things scale and how to reproduce things and build from there. And so, while I think that was a big part of our success, I'd say the number one thing is really the alignment of the team and having people on your team that you work with, that you very much trust and can empower. And, again, in a way where you can be vulnerable, because people will make mistakes. Like we have to tell you, we didn't go from 250 million to almost 10 billion, and not make mistakes. We made a lot of them. Right. Yeah. And it's really important that you have a culture where, people recognize, hey, when I make a mistake, it's an opportunity for me to learn and get better. And there's trust, and it's not divisive where people are trying to tear each other down and all that. Right. So the big part of success, I think, in companies in general, really have to do, unfortunately, not enough companies out there that place enough priority and emphasis on investing in people and culture. That's my number one thing when it comes to making it through that period. It was the people.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one type of change where you're growing and going that way. In 2022, with a lot of mortgage companies seeing reductions in volume.
Other way.
Now we got to pivot. And I know specifically you and Home Point and whatnot is focused on the long term. Like you mortgage and like my personal business. So how do you now pivot?
Yes.
To focus on the things that are gonna help you succeed in 2022 and 2023, where originations go from 4 trillion to 2.5 trillion, which there's still plenty out there, right?
Yep.
But it's a different game. There's different priorities and whatnot. I guess what's the main focus for you guys going into this new market?
Yeah. So what I will start with is the constant in both of those markets is still the people. And so again, we're still grounded in that. I think the pivot that we're making. Look, I think I don't want to be a doomsday person here, but this is hard, and it's going to likely get worse. But if you go back in time and you look at you've been in the market for a bit. I'm sure most of your viewers have been in the market for a bit. Like, there have been cycles like this before. Like, you can't be in mortgage and think that 2020 is just the way it is in perpetuity. That's just not the way mortgage works, right? And so it is cyclical, and so you got to understand that that's the industry that we've chosen, and you have to take on a different mindset and a mode of operation based on the market that you're in. And if I look at kind of where we're at today, what we're doing at Home Point is we're preparing for this to get a lot worse. But we want to be positioned, and I think, to you, and any advice I can give, right, is be prepared for what's in the end of the cycle. And so now is what you invest in right now, what you build right now is going to position you for what's to come when rates go back down, and now you have this incredible opportunity. That's ultimately what's going to determine your success through the cycle. And so, from our perspective, it's really one of focus, which is, all right, get really efficient, stay focused on the things that we believe matter. In our case, we've decided to get exclusively focused on wholesale. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you want to go into that in detail, but I can talk about that for hours, by the way. If you look at the difference between retail and wholesale, I mean, there's really good originators in retail and wholesale. It's not an originator thing, it's a platform thing. Right. And you look at the alignment that you get in wholesale between the lender, the originator, and the consumer, and what that results in for the consumer in terms of a better product, price, service delivery. it's far superior. And so in a market where rates are going up, what matters is purchase, okay? And that's going to be, you're competing for every freaking loan. And so being as sharp as you can on price, as good as you can be on service, and being as nuanced as you can be on product really, really matters. And so I think when things get tough, right, loans aren't falling out of the sky.
Right.
What really separates the companies from that do well versus the companies that don't are the companies that make the hard decisions and decide to focus. Like, what do you want to be good at? Right. Are you going to be really good at one thing, or are you going to say, I'm going to try doing everything and suck at all of it?
Right. Yeah. What I picked out of that too is that, long-term focus. I think that, resonates with me because, my attitude since I started mortgage and since I've gone on this kind of, journey of trying to get better every day is, I'm trying to plant apple trees, right?
Yes.
Versus the tomato plant that might give me a tomato next month. And I think that's, the market we're in, 2020, 2021, a lot of tomatoes to be picked, right?
Well, think about that. The relationships you build now and in this market, that's ultimately to your point. That's what's going to grow and bear fruit in the next market.
Right.
Like, people weren't really building relationships in 2020. They were just like reacting to it.
And let's be honest with ourselves, as somebody who was on the front lines originating and with the team, like it was easy to just, sit there and say, oh, this is ready to be picked right now. Let me do this. I won't even walk over to the apple tree and water it because I'm so, I'm so full here. And so, it's going to be interesting going forward. I know that, my self-development journey and getting better every day, I'm able to be honest with myself and realize, like, okay, I've got to make sure that I remember, long-term focus. And sure, I've done a lot of stuff with, educational content and other things that's, bearing fruit over the long term. One of my favorite quotes is people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in a decade.
Always.
Yeah, for sure.
Always.
And so I want to pivot a little bit just because I'd love to hear, we've talked a lot about business and mortgage and, business we're both in, right? And getting better every day there. What other parts of your life are you working at getting better every day?
Oh, that's a great question. So that's probably what I think I've gotten. I've really, I'll say, maybe it was the move to Home Point, but the last few years I've found better balance between my work life and my personal life, and I think, and you definitely, like, it's really hard being in mortgage and finding balance. This is one of those industries that can literally just suck you in, chew you up, and spit you out, and what helped me was we actually brought in an executive coach. And so I spent, I've been doing it now for a couple of years. His name is Rod Hairston. The company's called Envision You. I think guy's become one of my really close personal friends. And it all started with, him, I think, recognizing and I think coaching me, like, you need to be more intentional about what you want out of life. And so if you're not setting goals and then assessing what you're doing to achieve those goals, and because ultimately we're all kind of robots in a way, in that, over time you start to become conditioned with your habits, and you get into this rhythm, this rut, where this is just what you do, and if you want to change, if you're not happy, if you need to do something different in your life, the only way to do that is to be intentional about what you want to be different, and then to assess the habits and whether or not those habits are serving you and getting there, or they're not, and it's funny because, like, through this experience, it's really caused me to, maybe be a little less intense. Like, I've become a better father, I've become a better husband. I literally check out on the weekends. I still work my ass off in the week, I work really hard, but I feel like I'm actually more productive. I'm a better leader. I'm a better just person all around, because I think when you're well-rounded and you're thinking about things with perspective, and you're thinking about things with to your point, longer term view, right? It's just a healthier state to be in. So I've actually, getting to the point of your podcast, like, I've very much adopted this, like, concept of you always gotta be great. There's this really cool quote that I got from Rod. It's, if you think about it, you're never really staying in one spot. You're always either moving forward or backwards. And what that really means is, like, you're either trying to develop yourself and get better at something, or you're not, in which case the world is, and it's moving past you, right? And so it's a relative thing where it's like, you're not like really moving backwards, it's like someone else is beating you.
Right.
And so it's really just having like a mindset where you're, and there is no goal, by the way, there's no like end point that you get to in life. It's like, and that's the thing that I think, I've also really changed, is I used to have like this, like, all right, I got to get here, I got to do this and that. And that's just not healthy. Like goals are not like the end. They're just part of the process of achieving. Right. So like you adopt that mindset where you're like, look, I'm just going to constantly achieve, and I'm also going to let myself off the hook when I mess up, because that's going to happen. I'm not going to sit there in the shower in the mornings and assess the conversation I had or the interview I had with Matt, what I could have said better. I was like, I'm just going to say, look, I'm a person, I'm flawed. I'm constantly going to work on being better, and I'm going to set goals and be intentional about what I want in life, as opposed to letting life dictate to me what I want.
Right. Yeah. Because you're right. I mean, we could get stuck on autopilot, where if you don't, know exactly what you want, like, I've worked with the same coach for 5 years, and it's, health and family and business and investing, and it's all of it, right?
Yes.
Because like, we do more than just mortgage, right? Wife, kiddos, there's health, there's all kinds of other stuff that goes into it. And, he always kind of points me towards, what's your North Star? And is this aligned with getting you to your North Star? Because sometimes we just do stuff, we don't know why, right?
It's habit.
Yeah, this seems like something that's productive. This seems like something that's helpful, but, is it aligned with my North Star? Is this podcast aligned with my North Star? Right? And it is, because I'm trying to get better every day in multiple facets, like you, better husband, better father, better health. Come on, 2022.
I would say like health is a great thing. Like people don't prioritize that. I mean, this Apple Watch, I freaking love this thing, right? I'm competing with everyone on it. It's like I gotta like close my rings every day. Like you gotta be balanced in life. It's like, making money's great. Feeling good about yourself when you're successful, you're achievable is great, but it can't. Like, it's not just about your career and the financial side of it. It needs to be, you need to have purpose in life. Right. And a career is just one part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I've found that my lead domino for like, when you sit back and you analyze, like, oh, I had a really good week and I did really well in this area and that, my lead domino is the health.
Yes.
And we dug that out, through great questions through my coaches.
Yes.
Why are you feeling so good? Why do you have so much momentum? Why are things going so well? Well, I got back in the gym, doing 3 or 4 days a week doing that. I'm spending time with the family and doing stuff with the kids and coaching basketball. Me and my wife are going on date night. All that stuff, allows you to show up better in the office. So it's all, intertwined and ingrained in a better version of ourselves.
That's right.
As a collective, right?
Yep.
All right. Cool, man. I appreciate having you on, man. I
Pleasure.
appreciate you taking the time, dude. Any closing remarks for folks?
Hey, man, you're either moving forward or backwards. You're never staying still.
Yeah.
So
the world
get better every day.
Yep. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil.